Have you ever wondered what happens to your bike before it arrives in the box at your home? Today we're going to show you a quick run-through of how your e-bike is assembled and packed by us. The bike is delivered to us in a cardboard box too. This is how the individual manufacturers dispatch it. We take it out of the box together with all the attachments, clamp it into the assembly stand, and first check that all the essential screws are sufficiently tightened. Perfectly adjusted wheels are crucial for riding safety and directional stability. One of the first steps is therefore to check the tension of the spokes and center the wheel to the nearest tenth of a millimeter. With well-prepared wheels, this goes smoothly. Usually, our mechanics can recognize by the sound of the spokes alone where they still need to make adjustments. The next step is to adjust the gears. When riding, you will soon notice whether the chain runs smoothly from the largest to the smallest sprocket. This is exactly what we focus on. The derailleur cage should not be too compressed or too stretched in any position. And, of course, it is very important that the rear derailleur reacts directly as soon as you operate the gear lever. It is just as easy to notice whether the brakes are working properly. To ensure that you don't get annoyed by grinding noises, we check whether the brake disc runs smoothly through the brake caliper. We also choose the right spacing between the brake disc and brake pad. Not too far, otherwise the release will take too long. Not too close to prevent that the braking effect starts too abruptly. Both the ride feel and the performance on the road and trails are largely dependent on how well your bike's suspension system is set up. For example, how much you weigh plays a role here. During assembly, we adjust the air pressure of the suspension based on the weight you have provided us with when ordering. In the best case scenario, you won't need to change anything later. We usually choose a medium setting for the response behavior of the suspension fork. This has an influence on how quickly or slowly the fork compresses and returns to its starting position. If you have chosen a full suspension e-bike, the same happens with the shock. Its reaction to different air pressures can be tested quite well in the workshop. Then it's time to move on to the seat post and saddle. The exact torque is important when installing the seat post. After all, the seat post should sit firmly in the frame even under high loads. However, it must not exert too much pressure on the seat clamp and the seat tube. We also make sure that, depending on the type of seat post, the springing or lowering actually works. We also check if any cables for the remote control are routed correctly in the frame. Many bike manufacturers supply the saddle separately. We fit it in a central position as standard. This means that it is aligned more horizontally and positioned in the center of the saddle rails. Once these aspects are taken care of, we make sure that you can operate all components as comfortably as possible from the handlebar. This starts with the central alignment of the handlebar itself. We position the grips and brake and gear levers on the handlebar, so that you can reach everything and never have to overstretch your hands and wrists, or move them in any other uncomfortable way. During assembly in a large factory, such ergonomic aspects are sometimes neglected. Our standards are much higher in this area. We are just as careful when checking the electrical parts of the e-bike system. By looking under the battery cover, we don't just want to make sure that the battery is actually there. Instead, we look at small details such as whether the battery cover closes correctly. If not, this can usually be optimized a little with the latch. After all, it should reliably protect your battery from moisture, dust, and dirt without rattling. With the help of the diagnostic tool of the respective drive manufacturer, we check the motor, battery, display, and other components digitally, and check whether an error message appears. If the software signals that everything is fine, the firmware is then updated to the latest version. Our obligatory test ride shows just how good the work has been done so far. During the ride, we take another final look to see whether every detail really works as desired, and whether the adjustments made in the workshop are ideal. If everything looks good, we give your bike a final polish, and remove the last traces of the all-round check. To be on the safe side, we take a few photos to document the condition in which the bike left our workshop. At the end, we don't wrap your bike in cotton wool, but give it plenty of air cushions and foam. In our experience, however, the result is at least as good. Everything that is not permanently attached to the bike is neatly organized in a separate box. Finally, this is placed in the large bike box, and then your bike is ready to go and eagerly waiting to be received by you. Do you want to buy an electric bike that has undergone first-class testing and is carefully packaged? Then buy from us at EBIKE24. And if you want to find out more about what's inside the box, the e-bike, then simply subscribe to the channel.